Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. Today I got to review for you guys a very, very special LEGO Ideas set. This is the Pirates of Barracuda Bay Ideas set number 21322. It comes with a ton of minifigs, 2,545 pieces, sells for $199.99 US dollars or euro, and rated for ages 16 and up. This set was sent to us from the LEGO group, so thanks a lot guys for sending this set over to us to do a review. And this is a little bit different and special, especially for us here in the studio, but I actually got to talk to the designers, the LEGO Ideas designers, a little bit before doing this review. Also got to pick their brains a little bit about some of the design choices they made, which was really, really fun. So let me get a little bit closer here. The original Ideas set came from the builder Pablo Sanchez. I think it was just originally called the Pirate Bay, and then going through the design and review process, LEGO and the LEGO designers had the idea of throwing this back and paying direct homage to the original pirate ship set from 1989, the Black Sea Barracuda. So you can see the color combinations of the flags and the yellow highlights go to match up with that original ship. And at the end of this episode, I will show you guys the transformation of this island into the Black Sea's Barracuda, or sort of the modernized version of the Black Sea's Barracuda. And I'm going to be doing a comparison with the new ship and the old ship, because we actually have the original pirate ship with the original Redbeard and the total crew. In fact, I normally do a minifigure review first and then get into the features of the set, but because I'm going to be comparing some of the older figs with the newer guys when I make the new ship, I'm going to hold off on the figs for now, and let's get into the features of this gigantic LEGO pirate ship island. Now, based on the size of this set, a lot of you will be able to guess quite accurately that there are just a ton of features in this set. So I'm going to be splitting it in two and doing one half at a time. Well, I suppose the first feature actually here is the splitting feature. It does not stud in or connect with Technic pins, and that's because both of these chunks are very, very big. They're very, very heavy. Even adding a couple of pins there at the bottom really wouldn't give you the structural stability and safety that you'd want if you wanted to pick up the whole thing together. So they scrapped the idea entirely, I believe, and just made it easy for the two little pieces to connect quite snugly, but there's no ability for you to even get confused and try to pick up this giant thing on its own, because it just wouldn't work like that. So anyways, it comes in two giant chunks, and let's take a look at this piece first. Now, starting off with the external features first, you'll see that we're actually looking at the middle section of the ship right now, and it has been built into one end of the deck. I really like these little nubs that stick out. They're just a suggestion of larger posts that would be sticking out of the deck here. It's probably at low tide, my guess is right now, because you can see a bit more of the exposed sandbar here. We've got a loose cannon in the front, literally. None of the cannons are actually studded in, so they're all resting a little bit loose. Some extra shot pieces here. We've got a crab. These pieces will also be able to come off of the edge of the deck. They've been sort of boarded up here, but a lot of these jungly shipwreck type pieces will be coming off the ship when we do the final transformation. There's just a detail, I think almost every single inch of this set has got some kind of interesting detail. Let's see if I can get the light. Here's a nice little graphic detailing. It says Jose's Inn. Lots of wonderful prints here, not so many stickers, so that's awesome that this set comes with these nice little details. The deck comes around the hull of the ship, and this is a old structure, maybe the natives, or where the natives used to occupy this island. They also have remnants of a shrine or a god or a totem of some kind here. It fits in quite nicely. Yeah, you can actually pull it out pretty easily. It studs in almost too easily, I would say. Yeah, you can really just pop it right back in there, but I love the way that it sticks out at an angle. I think it was actually pushed up a little bit out of the ground when this palm tree grew. You'll notice that the palm trees are not made of those same old palm tree pieces. Those pieces aren't produced anymore, so they had to figure out a different way to design them. I think it works pretty darn well. And then very quickly, let me just take one of these palm trees out so you can see how they were constructed. Pretty simple design through and through. These are, I think, what, nougat, medium nougat colored minifigure heads that make up the coconuts, and very simple design really for the baseline tree build here. Yeah, and they all fit in pretty nicely. There's some nice flowers growing out of some of the deck here. I think we've gotten this particular mold for a parrot before in the past, but we get another one. This is very, very yellow. I like that that parrot is so yellow. This is a prison. We've got an old prisoner hanging out in here. I don't know if it was designed to necessarily break off that easily, but there he is. He's broken in. Lots of overgrowth. Once again, some of these pieces are going to be coming off during the transformation. They're actually very easy to break off. And then there's an actual interior on the inside. So I said we're going to start off with the exterior. So we're not quite there on the interior yet. All of these flaps open. I love the white and red color combination. Once again, that is an homage, or it is sort of the original color combination of the Black Sea Barracuda. This is still loose. We've got the captain here. We've got another couple of figs. And just notice all of the details that you can see along the deck, and actually everywhere. We've got a smaller anchor, an extra saber, and a machete. Behind her, we've got some open bottles. They're actually nice light green, not light green, but they feel a little bit brighter trans green than some of those earlier bottles. More ammo for the cannon, and there's just everything. Supply crates, and right here is the island without the hull attached here, so it does feel like there's obviously something missing, but not incomplete. Not like the set has actually been put into some sort of incomplete place. It actually reveals some shells and maybe a little bit of coral that's underneath the ship that was growing that you couldn't see before, and also some of these posts, the pieces that were holding the ship, the hull in the correct position, are actually broken down bits of harbor and or posts that are sticking out. These are the two different pins that keep the ship in place if I don't knock over the cannon. And yeah, it still kind of looks like this could be a visual outpost look on the island. Like this doesn't feel like it's going nowhere necessarily. It could be used for maybe even grabbing coconuts. There's just still function and form to the island, even though this giant chunk is missing from it. Before we jump onto the second half of the island, it does also come with a shark, the set, and a dinghy. We've got a nice little treasure map piece here. This is one of the figs, and let's move on. Now this second half of the island is a little bit more fantastical or fantasy oriented. First off, it's got just a stranger and more interesting out there construction. This back chunk of the ship is raised up so incredibly high. It doesn't even feel realistic really in the way it was constructed. Like, how did these guys even get it off the ground that easily? The front nose of the ship is up at this sort of exaggerated angle, and the back mast leans back in a weird way. I don't think it would stay like this. There's storms and there's high winds on the Caribbean Sea. I doubt that the ship would be able to rest in such a fantastical and interesting way, but it does leave an awesome footprint, and the construction is incredibly strong and easy. You can actually get this thing in place quite easily. In fact, let me start breaking this away now. I think it's easier to see the island. You can take this little piece out. You need to do that in order to have the ship resting flat and flush on the ground, and then this is attached by two mixel joints. You have to kind of really pull, and the front quarter, the nose of the ship, comes off. This is a great, I think this is Aquaman's hairpiece there on the front, and yes, wonderful yellow ornate highlight details. I'll go into the interior maybe a little bit more, maybe just before I put the whole ship together. I'll show you guys what the inside looks like, but we do have this awesome anchor. Look at that. The anchor dips down below. This is a really, really fun bit of building. Probably one of my favorite ones. It's actually not enough weight. It wasn't coming down when I was twisting it, but there you go. You can pull it all the way back up. It's a really, really fun construction. I like the way that that works a lot. And yeah, great details there for the front of the ship, but I'll get more into the ship detailing as this build goes on. And when you take this out, it really opens up a lot of places around here. We've got a pig who's eating a little bit of slop. Let me zoom in for you. Maybe you get a slightly better look at that. We have tons of tools, an old skeleton hanging out in the back, and there's some pieces here. You can actually find buried treasure, but I'll show you guys that in just 1 second. This is the second half of the ship that you can pull up and away. This one is not studded in with pins or mixel joints. It's actually just studded into the actual set itself. And of course, it cannot exist on its own without wanting to fall backwards ever so slightly. In fact, this is a little piece that you're going to be adding into the back of the rudder. And the rudder, this piece can't exist when it's attached to the island. Let's see if I can get it in there one-handed. Haha, there we go. And now it doesn't want to fall backwards on you, which is great. And this is by far my favorite bit of construction, just the way this side hull is built together. Everything, all these angles, wonderful. It comes in, fits in like butter. You can actually see a little bit of how that connection might work here in the back. I'm not going to be taking this whole thing apart, but yes, there's actually a lot of really, really fun angles when this whole bit of the ship comes together. This is by far my favorite bit of building for the whole set. So as we move through this review, let me just say there's so many things to point out that I can't possibly just talk about every single little detail here. There's just too many things really to get through here, but we've got fruit, we've got extra containers in the back, more coral growing in the ocean there. We've got the pig eating, we've got more supplies, there is a lamp, there's a crab, there are wonderful offset little bits of wood planks that are coming off of the side here. And you may have seen the actual treasure chest from before. I had it sitting up on the stairs, but this is its normal hiding place, if I can pull it out, and it comes to reveal some gold bullion bars, and they're actually the sprayed gold. I don't know the name of that coloration, but that's wonderful. It's you don't get those pieces in this color really ever, so that is kind of a special, truly treasure-like piece, and it just sort of sits there under the dock. But there's more food supplies hanging out here, and I like that this is actually sort of a piece of the ship, or at least it's built to look like a piece of the ship. You can see an offset window on the inside there, a couple of extra oars. And then here is the island without any of the ship attached. It's put back together, and of course it feels a little bit funny. You've got this sort of large extra piece that's not really doing much of anything, and the wooden deck here doesn't really match up very well. It's not like it's totally incomplete, but yes, this is what the whole island looks like together. It also doesn't have a way of notching in without having the ship hulls attached. So yeah, that's the final bit of the build for the island. Now it is time to actually put together the Black Seas Barracuda. All right, this is going to be actually kind of fun. I haven't done this yet, so I'm going to do it for the first time on camera. It looks a little bit more complicated than a regular change-up. There's actually a lot of steps in order to make this transformation happen, so let's go to time-lapse. That was a pretty interesting experience. It takes quite a bit of time, not difficulty, obviously. In fact, none of the build here is really particularly difficult, but there definitely is several steps that it takes in order to turn your Pirates of Barracuda Bay set into the Black Seas Barracuda pirate ship. I think it looks so cool, and as you can see, we've got the original 1989 ship next to it. I intentionally didn't do much to rebuild or beautify the old set. This is something that I was playing with back when I was 4 years old. So it's kind of crazy to see one of the very few sets that has survived this long. It's got most of the original minifigures, which is pretty cool. A couple of them are still on the ship, covered in dust. I didn't want to move them just because they're so incredibly dusty and stuff. So I'll be showing a full comparison between the original ship and this updated one. But first, let me do a minifigure comparison. Let's do a deep dive on the figs and show the comparison to the original prints. Alrighty, so first up here is Captain Redbeard. This is obviously the updated new version of the Captain. Interestingly enough, I was talking with the designer who was doing the update printings, and you can see this is an older Captain Redbeard. He's got a bit of gray in the beard. This is supposed to kind of continue the story of the ship having been lost or unseen for the last 30 years. And yeah, the details are a pretty fun update compared to the original. I think a lot of people remember and recognize the Captain, so here he is. And you'll see that every aspect of this character has been pretty much kept the same. The frilly green in the front is the same. This frill is really funny. It's just sort of some straight lines, relatively basic. Obviously no back printing for the original Captain. And this guy's got some, you know, pretty logical prints that match up with the strap and a bit of the gold ornate detailing on the front. The green and red color combination with the yellow skin, I think, is what really makes this guy so recognizable, especially from afar. And you'll also note that the skull prints are different on the top of the cap. That's the same also for the flags when I do the comparisons later. Next up here is Lady Anchor. This character, I don't know if she was called Lady Anchor back in the day, but she seems about as close as you can get to these ones. I'm pretty sure the blue sash along the bottom here maybe was a callback to the blue bandana that she's wearing on her head for this original fig. But obviously the facial prints have changed dramatically here. Especially you can see it with the female figs, because the old school guys, the old school figures just had bright red lips for lipstick. Pretty basic printing here. She's got a nice torso print though. A little bit of it goes onto the back as well, and she's carrying a machete and a pistol. Lots of spare pieces for figs in this set. Now let's do both of the updated figs first. It makes sense to show them together. These are brothers, Port and Starboard. Haha, Port and Starboard. And they're fine. They're fun. They've got the big bushy mustaches. Let me actually just show you one of the facial prints. They are not perfectly identical, as you can see, but when they've got the mustaches and the bandanas on, it's really the eyebrows and of course the alternating color combination that makes them any different from each other. They've also got different sashes. One's a belt, one's just a rope tied around the waist. And then here are their original counterparts. These are the guys that were in the original Black Sea Barracuda. No back printing, which I really, really like because it just looks so funny. Relatively inconsistent, but once again, these are guys that came out over 30 years ago. Now, the last two figures that are getting compared here is Quartermaster Riggings, or at least that's his name in this set here. I don't know his name or if he had a name. There's a bunch of variations of these guys with different pants and hat colors, but this is basically, this is pretty darn close to who he would be updated from. Obviously no back printing once again. And his eye patch has changed sides this time around. You can see a treasure map for the buried treasure, and he looks pretty darn good. I do like the scruffy sideburns that goes into sort of a rough shave towards the bottom. Now next up here is Robin Loot. That's a pretty good name for a female pirate character. I have a feeling they had a lot of fun putting these figures together. She's got, I think this is the firefighter face. This is a female face. It could be new. I'll double check. You'll see the text beside me if this is the new face, but I'm pretty sure this is a firefighter. Pretty nice little standard green vest print through and through, but by far the best thing about her, I think, is this mold. You've got the pirate hat with the long hair. Really, really nice. I like this fig a lot. She's got dual pistols. And then this is my favorite names, definitely from, actually my favorite print too, definitely from this set. This is Tatuga. Get it? Not Tortuga, but Tatuga. He's got a bunch of tattoos. This looks like the actual Black Sea's Barracuda. and he's got some anchors. It looks like some sea serpents and parrots. If I didn't know any better, I'd say those are dual Gyaradoses on either side of the anchors, but that's probably not the case. Let me show you his alternate expression. He's just a little bit miffed. I like that funny little mustache too. He's just a fun looking character. I like also that he's got the gold on his sash too. It's a little bit ornate for a guy like this, but I think it really matches quite well. And then this is the last fig. This little kid is Dark Shark Doubloons. He's got the same torso print as port or starboard. I can't remember the name. And he's got a satchel and also a telescope piece. He's got a no alternate expression, and yeah, it's a fun little extra kid character, kid pirate. I think is this the first kid pirate? I'm not totally sure. But yeah, it looks pretty good. And all right, here are all of the minifigures together. I've given them a basic task. They've been assigned somewhere around the ship, up and down the entire body. But really, it is time to now talk about the updated Black Seas Barracuda. They weren't trying to change the design too much from the original. I mean, the whole point, I feel like, was really to kind of give a new life, a rebirth to a classic, amazingly fun set from the late 80s. And yeah, I think they did a great job. The yellow ornate details are still present. This time now we've got flexible axle pieces here that make up some fun details there in the front. The red cannonball lid covers are still there with the white sidings. And instead of thin and difficult to tie on strings like the original had, we have these thicker studdable strings that kind of connect at different points depending on what length they needed in order to flesh out the final design to get those sails to be attached here. It looks like so much fun. Let's get a little bit closer. You can see the details on top of the deck. So starting off in the very back, we've got Redbeard, the navigator with the map. You can see the little steering wheel that spins, a couple of crates, a lantern that hangs out there. We've got some extra cannonballs in case they need it. And then moving down, I think most, if not all, of the crates from the island have been attached here and there on the top of the deck here. There's some barrels with some supply pieces hanging around, and yeah, it feels very, very complete. It feels very lived in. There's a ton of supplies that I didn't add in here. I'm giving you what the basic instructions will tell you what to do with the ship, but then I'll show you all the spare pieces. Oops, I took that bit out. I'll show you all the spare pieces at the end of this, and you can see how much you can really populate this ship, because this is a relatively large and fruitful set. Now that I've detached the back, it feels a little bit more appropriate to play around with the interior, just because it's just a little bit more easy to navigate. So you can see Redbeard's chamber here. In fact, let me turn this little statue over. He's got some treasure. He's got an ornate chair, a little sort of bust statuette as well. You can see where he writes letters, does some navigating. He's got a treasure map and a bunch of candles. So it's a fun, decently furnished little area for him. And then below is the cooking quarters. Inside you can see a pot with a fish, another stove top where they're cooking a cookie or perhaps a biscuit, and a little bit more for drink in the side. And all right, I've broken out and updated, just made it a little bit easier to get onto the interior of this middle section that you saw a little bit earlier. So now here's, with a much better light, you can see the keg and the bottles and the little countertop with a candle. Much, 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 much more detailing and light. And this is some of the sleeping quarters as well. My guess is port and starboard have their beds there. You can guess which one is theirs. And yeah, letter, bottle, candle, and another hat with another candle. Just details everywhere. I really like those little ornate bits used in the back. Here's where you can kind of see through the entire middle section. And also here is the interior of the front of the ship. Least amount of detailing done here, just an extra bucket, and this little piece with a hinge. I haven't actually identified what that does. Someone will probably let me know in the comments below. And then yes, you can also see how that works here a little bit better now. It's a very, very simple function, but it works incredibly well. Sorry, you didn't see that last little bit when I pulled it up. But there it is. It's built from a lot of those little 1x1 bits with the bars that stick out. It's a really, really fun little design. Now, when it comes to the overall size of these ships, you can see that this updated version certainly looks a little bit bigger, and it is for the most part, but not by some huge margins. The lengths are almost identical. It's only slightly higher in total height, and the width is maybe just a stud wider, or maybe 2 studs wider in certain places, but not by any huge margin. When you really see the difference in size, it comes to the overall height of the deck. You can see that the deck is actually much, much shorter on the original Black Seas Barracuda, and then also this elevated portion in the back is also higher. Well, not by a huge amount, but it is definitely a little bit higher. So yes, the new version is larger, and of course it looks a lot, I mean, the sails are also much newer and much cleaner, which also gives it a little bit more of a fuller feeling than the old one. Let me show you how beat up an old set can get. I intentionally did not de-dust this set so you guys could see what this looks like. The original guy manning here was never moved for, I don't know, several years. And then look at the layer of gray on top of the black bricks. Some of these figs were kept in bags like the ones I showed you earlier, so they're not so dusty, but then compared to the rest of the interior. Also, the string work here is atrocious. I just found the whole thing kind of mangled up, and I put it back together as best I could. Some of the pieces for the mast are actually physically broken, like the Lego bricks themselves are like totally broken off, like there's no actual place to connect that anymore. So what we have here is something that was heavily played with, but it's actually kind of funny because around the age I was when playing with this set, almost 30 years ago for me at least, that's roughly the same age that my nephew is going to be when he will be playing with the updated version of the Black Seas Barracuda here. So I have a feeling, for me personally, this is probably going to remain on a display shelf for maybe a year or two, but as soon as we've got kids in the family that are old enough to play around with this, it'll be really fun to kind of have the next generation play with the next latest iteration of a set that we know we got so much fun out of from the past. Also, we're going to get into some custom building, or at least some modifying for this set, just because I'm having some fun with it here. This is not officially recommended like in the instructions or anything, but this is the piece that you take out of the ship when it's on the island, and you can stud it in right here. And I know that Lego is not officially saying that this is what you should do, but they basically included the perfect piece for a plank. So yes, this is not officially something that they say is what you're supposed to do, but it is pretty much the exact piece that works for this situation. So you can make some guys walk the plank. And then expanding on the concept of the plank, we've actually got tons of things you can do with this set after you've turned it into the pirate ship. So this is the blank island that you saw earlier, but these are all the extra spare pieces left over after taking them off of the island and or off of the pieces of the ship when putting together the new Black Seas Barracuda. That's a lot of stuff that can just get turned into more structural type builds. These are some of the spare pieces left over from all the different bags at the end of the build. These are also spare pieces, but they're directly useful for minifigures. Lots of extra sabers and extra pistol piece. These are some of the dinghies and some of the other bits. And when you get it all together, what the set has really given you is the Black Seas Barracuda and an island fortress, or at least a port-style island that you can furnish relatively well. I'm going to put as much of this together in sort of whatever type of fun way that I see fit, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on the entire set. Okay, so here's the basic little setup I put together with the extra pieces. The island looks almost the same, relatively similar, but now the boy is a man. I found that extra mustache piece. Here are some fruits and some treasures that the pirates seem to be after, and the few residents have only been able to make up a small makeshift defense system with just a single cannon. The invasion party seems to be getting met with a shark, and there are 2 trained cannons on the island position. They're taking a pass right now. First time on the island, see how easy it is for them to overtake and to plunder the small group on land. It seems the treasure chest has brought them to the correct place, and this was just a very quick little scene that I set up here, but it's so much fun, the fact that you get this really large play area as a defense system, plus a complete and very, very wonderfully built total pirate ship. And I almost forgot really quickly, this is what the box art looks like. Incredible colors all over. This little yellow stripe is actually kind of an illusion or a throwback to what the original Black Seas Barracuda set looked like. I think it had a Legoland. It said Legoland on the yellow stripe from the set from way back. And let's check out the other side. And the art style here definitely matches something a bit closer to a treasure map. So you can see the full dimensions here listed on the graphic, and then down below it shows you the transformation function and all these different interior scenes along the edge over here. And also very quickly, this is a look at the ideas manual. Very colorful. There's a little bit of information on Legoland Pirates, the original theme. Funny little comic strip here. And then I really like this because they got the designers, the original designer, to dress up like a pirate. A little bit of history about him and how he was inspired. And then also they managed to get the designers for this set to dress up and act goofy like pirates as well. So these were the guys that I talked to on Skype for, I don't know, half an hour or something. It was really interesting. Captain Redbeard, some information on him. This is kind of a continuation of his story. This is his crew. And very quickly there, boom, you jump into the final build, and then it actually shows you, at the end that you can convert it. All right, so here is the final thoughts on the set. I gotta say that I am overwhelmed in terms of how good this thing turned out. We get tons of wonderful figures, lots of exclusive prints. The part to price ratio is rock solid, both in terms of the actual number of pieces that you get to the cost and the amount of very large, interesting, and unique pieces on top of that. This is by far one of the more interesting ideas sets that we've gotten in a long time, because not only was this a really fun, interesting, original idea, but Lego went ahead and added another really interesting idea, which was to integrate this with a old classic piece of Lego history, the Black Seas Barracuda. So I love the new evolution of the old ship, the fact that it comes with this really, really large and awesomely detailed island, and the original build for this, the actual original concept, is awesome. It leaves such a wonderful and unique visual footprint. My wife in particular actually really likes the original version of this design, so I have a feeling that's how it's going to be set up for a while at my place. And then, yeah, it'll be really fun to integrate this with other younger members of our family and have them play with the exact set, or the updated exact set of what we had so much fun with when we were their age. So it's so cool that they came out, over 30 years apart, and you can still, I think, get so much enjoyment out of such a wonderful piece. I just love those red and white stripes. The color is just so unique and so striking, especially from afar. Anyways, guys, this is the idea set. Let me know what you think about this set in the comments below. Thanks so much to the Lego group. Thank you so much to the designers that took their time to talk to me. Also, that was really fun. And if you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe. Thank you again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.